Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Newark and Sherwood series, a district of 84 civil parishes right in the centre of Nottinghamshire. Come with me as we delve into one of them. Welcome back to Newark and Sherwood, everybody. Now, for me personally here, I'm in uncharted waters. I've never been this far south of Newark before within the district. I have no idea what to expect with this one, although I do know it's got a nice little church, which is the first landmark on our little tour around it. Welcome to Cotham. This Newark and Sherwood video is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find a link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Here's another small Newark and Sherwood village which sits to the south of the district's main town. This is Cotham, located some 3.5 miles south of Newark. It has very few residents, and for statistical and census purposes, Cotham's population is recorded with the slightly larger village of Staunton, which lies to the southeast. Cotham should not be confused with Cottam, the Bassetlaw village we covered some time ago. Both villages are roughly the same size, although this one has a little less to talk about. In truth, there's very little out there about Cotham. Most of what I found related to two things: the Church of St Michael and the former Cotham railway station, both of which feature in this episode. This place was long the seat of the Leek and the Markham families. The Leeks were one of the most powerful and prolific families in Nottinghamshire during medieval times. Sir John Leek, an MP, was once Sheriff of Nottingham. He died in 1415. Another Leek, Margaret, is an ancestor of the current princes William and Harry by at least 2 spouses. As for the Markhams, the church here once had a notable memorial to Anne Markham, but as we'll see shortly, it's no longer there. It does, however, still exist. This isn't a long walk, but it's quite pleasant. Welcome to Cotham, folks! We start our short journey around Cotham at St Michael's Church, located to the village's northwest. The church is accessed via a footpath which crosses a field. Mind you, this is no ordinary field. This is the site of the old medieval village of Cotham, and you can tell because there are some excellent earthworks here. St Michael's dates from the 12th century. It's a Grade 2 listed building and it closed in 1986. Since 1989, it's been looked after by the church's Conservation Trust, and rightly so, because this one has more than its fair share of interesting bits. Amongst them are 2 14th century monuments thought to belong to the Leek family. The present building is just a fragment of what was a much larger building. It lost its tower and part of its nave in 1790, and its side aisles have also gone. It might be closed for worship these days, but it remains open to the public. Let's go in and have a look around. It's a great little church, this. Well, this is very much a one-room church, this. There's no little side enclaves or anything off either side of this. It's just one big room. Quite a tall building, in fact. It's quite a long way up there, not the tallest we've seen. It's still got its Christmas tree out, which is looking quite resplendent. There's a tablet on the wall I've just noticed here. Bit of glare from the sun. That is, oh, nearly falling over here. It's the Markham Memorial. This memorial was originally situated in this church. It was removed when the church fell into disrepair, and it's now situated at the southwest corner of the parish church of St Mary Magdalene in Newark. And that's what it looks like, if you'll ignore the light coming from the other window. If I come this side, you might be able to see. So you'll find that in Newark now. It was in here. Okay, let's see what else we can find in here. There's a tablet up on the wall over here. Let's see what this is about. Notice there's no pews, by the way. It's all wooden chairs. No pews. That's interesting. Okay. Can't read this. It's a bit faded, but it's to do with someone who died at Whiffington near Manchester. Can't tell who it is though, I'm afraid. Have to look that one up, I think. There's some names on this window. One of them is Robert Millington, and another one is Elizabeth Millington. So there's obviously a connection to the Millington family here in Cotham. On the other side, we've got a poppy wreath there, which is below a war memorial for World War One. I can see 6 names there. Okay, let's go to the back of the church. There's a few leaflets here about this one. I'll have a read of this and see what there is to tell you about this one, Church of St Michael. You may have already heard me say some things that are in that. It's a nice little drawing of it as well. That's quite good. Doesn't say who did it, but it was done in 1988. Oh, George somebody. Can't read his last name. That's his signature there in the corner. 1988, that was drawn. Not a bad little church, this, actually. Quite like it. It's out of the way, nice and peaceful. Well worth a visit. Cotham's main street is Newark Road. Halfway down it, there's a footpath to the right. A little later at the end of this walk, we'll be emerging from this gate, but before that, we've got a bus shelter to see. Cotham is served by one bus, the 857, which runs from Newark to the Rushcliffe village of Shelton, taking in a few other small villages on the way. The shelter is also where we find the parish notice board. Mark it off, folks, we're down to 29 in Newark and Sherwood now. Over the road is a building which is being restored by Car Heritage. It looks like either a former chapel or maybe a school. I'm leaning more towards school because I could find no mention of a chapel in the village. There was a school here though, built by the Duke of Portland in 1893 to hold 31 children. Regardless, it's good to see a historic building being maintained and not demolished. A few paces down the road, I found this sign advertising a garden centre. I was wondering where the garden centre was. It's actually the first house around the corner onto the lane which leads to the row. It's that house there. Okay, so let's walk down the lane and head for the row, and this will eventually take us to that footpath that we were talking about a moment ago. This is the Lane, one of the very few residential streets here. Most of Cotham's housing is clustered around this southern end of the village. Records in 1853 show Cotham had a population of 98 people. Not much has changed over the past 170 years. The village still has a population of less than 100. The lane eventually runs into a dead end, but a footpath takes you through the gardens of 4 Grade 2 listed buildings, a row of 17th century cottages called The Row. At the end of this muddy path, you're treated to a fabulous view across the Trent Valley because we're actually on top of a shallow hill here, which slopes downwards towards Elston. And if you follow the path, you'll come to another field where there's a few more village residents, although they're a bit more woolly. Yes, I had to cross this field of sheep, which eventually brings us back to the gate we passed earlier on Newark Road near the bus stop. It's a bit windy out here, but it's worth it for the view. Don't let anybody tell you people that live out here that the Trent Valley is not gorgeous, because absolutely it is. Well, that was a nice little walk, albeit a little bit muddy towards the end. It's been raining the past couple of days, so the ground's a bit soft, it's a bit boggy in places. So yeah, probably a good walk to do with your wellies on. I've only got trainers on at the moment, so I kind of struggled a little bit. Anyway, that is the main village of Cotham, and now I'm going to take you down towards the south of the village, because there's one other landmark which this place was noted for, and that's an old railway station. Let's go and find that. To the south of the village is the site of the former Cotham railway station, which is adjacent to this old railway bridge over a now defunct railway line. This is the same line which we spoke about in the Balderton episode, the one which ran from Newark to Bottisford in Leicestershire. The line itself closed in 1955. Unlike Balderton, this stretch of the line hasn't been developed into a footpath or a cycle trail. In fact, you really wouldn't want to be walking down there at all. That's backed up by this little gate alongside the bridge, which urges people to keep out. It's all overgrown and more than a little bit swampy down there. The station building still stands. Cotham was the only station on the line between Newark and Bottisford. It opened in 1879 and closed in 1939. Occasional passenger services between Nottingham and Newark continued to use the line until 1955, and the station house has now been turned into a lodging. And there you go, that's the parish of Cotham, and it's time for me to move on to my next one here in Newark and Sherwood, which is 1.5 miles to the south. And on the map, this one has a very interesting geographical point, which I can't access because it's on private land. However, I can at least show you where it is. To find out what that point is, you're going to have to come back next week and see exactly where I'm headed right now. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Cotham, and I'm out.